name is Louise Davis. I'm from the League of Women Voters of Mountain Lakes. I've been trained to be a moderator by the League of Women Voters of New Jersey. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that does not support candidates or parties, but rather encourages citizen participation in government. The purpose of a candidates forum is to give you, the voter, the opportunity to get to know your candidates. This forum will be conducted in accordance to league policy, which means all questions and answers must be in accordance with the league policy pertaining to issues of office and not personal items. If a personal item is, someone responds in a personal way, they will lose their turn and we'll move on to the next person. The same will be true of questions, and each of you have the opportunity to ask questions of the candidates. We have some cards and pencils over here on the side table. You can write down your question. It will be filtered up to me, and I will ask the question if we have time to the candidates. There will be 4 parts to this evening's forum. The first will be a 2-minute opening statement from each of the candidates. Then I'll be asking some questions that were submitted by the committee. The third part will be questions from you, the voters, and then each candidate will have a 2-minute closing statement. Each candidate, I've talked about timing, each candidate will have a minute to answer each of the questions. There will be timers here in the front row who will be indicating to the candidates how we're doing with time. There are 4 candidates this evening who will be running for 2 positions. As you look here, there's only 3. The 4th candidate, Judy DiNapoli, was given the opportunity to be here tonight. She was unable to come at the last minute, so we are proceeding with the 3 candidates who are here. And starting here to my right, our 3 candidates are Michael Unis, Glenn Elliott, and Jim Day. The candidates have drawn numbers to see who will be the first speaker this evening, and it will be Michael Unis. Thank you.
Good evening. I would like to thank the Conference of SCAs and League of Women Voters for hosting our event tonight, and members of the community for coming out tonight. Throughout the past several weeks, our campaign has shared 3 values of an enduring vision: providing an excellent education, ensuring fiscal responsibility, and preserving our schools. In 2009, we faced a $1 million reduction in state aid. I supported a zero-based budget planning process and creative contract negotiations. Over the past 3 years, since 2011, I've served with John and worked with the teachers union to save an estimated $1 million of increased health care costs. Additionally, over the past 5 years, we have seen the tax levy cap slide from 4% to 2%, which means we must plan more carefully and more strategically than ever before. Since my election in 2009, we've seen many academic accomplishments. Our advanced placement has set an all-time high for Verona in terms of number of AP courses offered, students enrolled, and courses completed. The number of students who have earned AP Scholar with honor and national AP Scholar recognition has increased by 300%. Our HESPA scores are also an all-time record for Verona. For both math and language arts, we have less low-performing students than our comparative districts, and we are 12 to 15 students away from outperforming on the advanced proficient scale. In terms of our New Jersey ASC scores, since 2009, our elementary schools are rivaling or exceeding comparative districts in math and language arts. It has been an honor to represent the students and families of Verona over the past 5 years, and I look forward to your continued support. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. We'll move on to Glenn.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank our moderator, Ms. Davis, and also the Conference of SCAs for hosting this, and thank you for all coming this evening. I'm going to start with just a short bio of sorts, in case anyone isn't familiar with me. I'm a proud 14-year resident of Verona. My kids are enrolled in the district and proud hillbillies. I chose to make our home here for the same reasons that many of you do. It's a great sense of community, civic pride, involved parents, and most of all, we have a lot of heart, and I see examples of that every day. The question I often hear is, why did you get involved with the Board of Ed? Well, about 10 years ago, I did decide to get involved. I thought I could make a difference. Fundamentally, I believe in the concept of community service and giving back to something that you care about, and I care deeply about this town. I was fortunate to be elected, and I have since been re-elected twice, and I'm now completing my third term. During my time on the board, I've served as president, numerous times as vice president. I've served on almost every board committee, curriculum, finance, buildings and grounds, 8 of 9 years that I've been on the board, community relations. I've attended board training, and I've certainly taken all the required online courses in boardmanship. Now this gets a little more tricky, because we used to talk, when we talk about board achievement, we like to talk about it as a board, and not single out individual achievement. But I'm going to try to do a little bit of that. But first, let me talk a little bit about, oh my gosh, what I'm not going to do tonight. And I'm not going to defend what we do here as a board and as a school district, because frankly, it's not necessary. We're consistently a highly achieving district, and ranking in the top 10 to 15% of schools in New Jersey, and in a state, New Jersey, that's ranked consistently in the top 5 of the country. By every metric, our students succeed. 96% go on to higher education at some of the best colleges in the country. So I'm asking for your support this evening.
Thank you very much. Jim?
Thank you all for attending tonight. I appreciate you all coming out. Before I introduce myself, I'd like to read a quote from the famous philosopher John Lennon of the Beatles. When I was 5 years old, my mother always told me that happiness was the key to life. When I went to school, they asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wrote down happy. They told me I didn't understand the assignment, and I told them they didn't understand life. I'm Jim Day. I know my assignment. My assignment is to become a member of the Verona Board of Ed and provide value and transparency to the residents of Verona. To give you a little background about myself, I have 2 children in the school system, so I have one at the HB school, I have one at Forest Avenue, and I have a vested interest in what goes on in this town. With 54% of our tax dollars going to the schools, I want to have a say on where those dollars go. Involving commitment to the town, I've been involved in a lot of activities. I'm on the Public Safety Committee. I was on the Strategic Planning Committee for the Board of Ed. I was also on the Forgotten Jitney Committee, which disappeared all completely. I was on that, and you'll see me a lot around all the fields because I was either coaching baseball or soccer with my boy and girl. So very active in the town. Currently I work as a strategic account manager, so what that means is I work with large organizations. We do deep dives in those organizations. We try to see what's working, what's not working, and then what I do is put together a business plan on how to control costs, improve processes, maximize efficiency, and mitigate risk. So really, that's the kind of value I would bring to the board. I'd be able to do a plan, see where we are, and see how we can improve things. I've made many friends and have met amazing people in Verona. I love this town, and I want to give back. I'm a doer, and I'd rather be on the field playing the game than being on the sideline observing. So thank you very much. I appreciate your support.
Thank you. Now we're going on to the second part of this evening's forum, which is the questions that were prepared by the committee. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer these questions. We'll begin, Glenn will have the first question, and I'll read the question so all of you know it is. In recent years, many New Jersey school districts have introduced charter schools or magnet schools. Is this an option for Verona? Why or why not?
Well, the first thing to recognize is that a magnet school and charter schools are really 2 entirely different things. A charter school is really a for-profit school that they were originally set up for use in urban districts and failing areas. They become really money makers in some other areas, especially for special interest groups. So I really don't think this is a good option for Verona, particularly because any children going to a charter school from Verona takes their money with them from the district to that charter school. So it's really kind of a drain. As far as a magnet schools are usually set up in districts where there's more than one higher education, more than one high school, and it becomes like a science school or maybe a history school or something of that nature. We don't have the facilities for that, so I don't think it would be an appropriate scenario for Verona as well. What we can do is try to differentiate instruction and bring in some of these classes that are taught in the magnet schools and bring them into Verona, which we are doing and we're seeing some success with.
Thank you. Jim?
Yes, regarding the charter magnet schools, there are options. I mean, I think our goal is to fix what we have. We could look at the option of a magnet school. Most of the time, that's run by the county. That's usually a vocational school. Charter schools are also optional, but that would also be funded by, most likely, the town. And something that would have to be voted on by the town. So, something to think about as an option. Right now, I would say let's try to work with what we have. And then a third option that I always want to throw out there is called school choice, where you can allow students from the outside to pay for a special benefit. Like, say somebody loves our band, but we have an amazing band. Well, if they want to come to our school, let's let them. And they can pay us some money to come to our school, but they also get the great education and benefits of what one provides, and it will help our school at the same time.
Thank you. Michael?
Yes. There are 1.4 million students enrolled in New Jersey public schools, and 30,000 of them enrolled across 104 charter schools. So charter schools represent a small portion of the students educated in New Jersey, but a large portion of the funding in the districts that house them. Implementing a charter school in Verona would be difficult, just due to financial constraints. In New Jersey, funding follows the student. So essentially, a charter school here would create a gap between the needs of our current existing school and the new charter. As for a magnet school, a magnet school allows you to pull students across boundaries, across zip codes, essentially. And that could be a viable option, possibly. We have to do more research into it and talk with our stakeholders and community. But it would present an opportunity to expand our coursework that we currently offer.
Thank you. We'll move on to the second question. Jim will be the first one to respond to this question. If Verona received $10 million from a mystery donor, how would you spend it on the school system and why?
I would say, wow, $10 million, we can do a lot with that, but we need the $10 million. And the three main things I would want to hit upon with that $10 million, first of all, would be technology. We all talk about technology, we need it now. First of all, we have technology, but it's not up to speed. We don't have a good backbone for our technology. So if we want to add more computers, we don't have the backbone to support that. We don't have Wi-Fi. When I heard that, when I started getting involved in this, I knew we had a little bit of Wi-Fi. We don't have Wi-Fi at all to cover all the campuses. We have the fiber, but we don't have the Wi-Fi. So again, critical. And we have tests coming up, like the park tests. I think you're all aware, we have an NJS test, and there's a test coming up called the park test. We don't have the technology for that. So I would actually talk to another superintendent, another school district, and they're exploring what you can do, and maybe something like a Chromebook. You can get a $200 computer that will work with Park. So those are the kind of things we do with technology. Secondly, security, cameras, locks, doors. I want to make sure when my daughter leaves, she'll come home, my daughter and son leave, they'll be able to come home and know that they were at a safe place.
Thank you very much. Michael?
If there's one lesson I've learned over the past 5 years in elected office and serving in Verona, is that the most important part of my job is to listen. So we engage in a collaborative process where we just talk with stakeholders in the community and make a decision about what to do with the $10 million. Now, $10 million could fund our discretionary spending for about a decade. It would barely touch on our long-term needs in terms of buildings and grounds and capital improvements. I believe the best use of funds is in the classroom. So I would suggest a donation to a nonprofit, possibly something like Verona for Educational Excellence, in which it would allow us to have the flexibility and creativity to have the greatest impact on student learning. Unless we tuck that away in some type of capital improvement fund, every year we'd have to exhaust all funds in our budget, and that would be a one-term fix. The goal would be to take that money, spread it out over the longest period of time, lighten the burden on the taxpayers, and have the greatest impact in the classroom.
Thank you. Glenn?
Certainly one thing I've learned over the last 9 years is that when you receive any sort of windfall, and you certainly haven't received $10 million, is that you don't want to spend that on anything that's a reoccurring expense, because that's just built in your budget. You know, the instances where maybe grants are available, but they're only for 1 year, maybe 2 years, and that's just really not the way to run a school district. So I think the best use of something like this would be in a couple areas. First, in technology, I'm certainly in agreement with Mr. Day, is that we have some really significant technology needs, and we can invest in that. The second thing we really need to invest in is our facilities. We're certainly preparing for the referendum in the upcoming year, but with that kind of money, we'd be able to tackle some significant portions of it and basically buy down what we need to do. So what would that be? Certainly the field is a good place to start. It's a big chunk of money that is just one lump sum. So I would start there, and I would start looking at some other large expenditures and spend the money that way.
Thank you. We're now moving on to the third question. Michael will have this question first. Trenton imposes many requirements on New Jersey public schools. Which one would you most like to do away with, and why?
So I've definitely seen the challenge around what the state imposes as a teacher, having taught for 4 years, as a school operations director, which I currently moved into, and as a board member. We should promote policies that reinforce commitment to education and the conviction that all students can learn at high levels. Now, according to the OECD, which is an organization that discusses or ranks education across the international spectrum, in countries with the highest performance, teachers are paid more, education credentials are valued more, and a greater share is spent on instructional services than is the case in the United States. So any requirement that continues to divert funds away from the classroom has to be seriously reconsidered. I believe that requirements from Trenton should promote responsible autonomy and high accountability. Basically, they should allow the districts to make informed decisions and then hold them accountable for doing so.
Thank you. Glenn?
This one was kind of easy for me. I'm a firm believer in home rule, and one of the things that really has always bothered me, despite the fact that we've always gone above and beyond as a community and as a board to be fiscally responsible, is really the 2% salary cap, and it really impedes our ability, if the community supports it and desires it, to raise the funds that we need to help to effectively manage the schools. It's really a one-size-fits-all approach to management, and one size doesn't always fit all. And it's really penalized the districts over the years that have really tried to be fiscally responsible, tried to hold down expenses, and then to throw the 2% cap on and say that's the line in the sand. It just really makes it difficult to, if you do need to raise, or if you need funds above the 2%.
Thank you. Jim?
Yes, in regards to the Trenton requirements, a lot of times Trenton likes to keep people busy and just do things that maybe don't need to be done. There's a evaluation system called the QSAC, or the Quality Single Accountability Continuum, and what it does is they require the local towns to fill out evaluations and forms, and from what I've heard, the value of that work is really minimal. So I would say things like that, the busy work that Trenton provides, takes away from the time that the administrators or the teachers could use to help the students.
Thank you. We're now going on to our next question. Glenn will have this question first. Verona's curriculum changes have been focused on making our students better candidates for college, but there have been many national and international studies that indicate that employers want something different. They want young people with better entry-level job skills. What should Verona be doing to meet that need?
I'm going to actually fundamentally disagree with the premise of the question. I think that when you have 96% of your students who are attending a higher education, either college or university, that our job should be focusing on preparing them for that. And that's not to say that there's not classes that can help them prepare for the specific work in college. And we've been doing what we can to bring those into the district. We have dual enrollment opportunities now that we didn't have before. So I think that we are meeting the needs of the Verona students, the needs of what our students are telling us they want to do after their 4 years here, and that is go to college. So I think that we're meeting those needs, and we can look at other course offerings, but I don't think that the issue necessarily is that we need to be training them for entry-level jobs.
Thank you. Jim?
Yes, and regarding the curriculum changes and things that are important for international studies and various jobs, you do a study of various corporations. The top 3 items are communication, written and oral, problem solving, and teamwork. And to me, teamwork, I'm in the business world. You have to work as a team. I might be able to do something involved in a project, but you have a team that works with you. And I think that's something for our children to know, whether they're on a sports team, whether they're in a classroom, that classroom is the team. So I think those are the items that you need to really work with and have curriculum geared toward, again, problem solving, communications, and teamwork.
Thank you. Michael?
Of the nearly 14 million new jobs that will be created in our country over the next 10 years, nearly all of them are going to require at least a 2-year associate's degree. So I have to agree with my colleague Glenn in saying that we are on the right track by providing an opportunity for our students to not only go to college, but to graduate from college successfully. Now, Verona is on the right track. Over the past 2 years, we have increased our AP courses, our enrollment, the tests that are taken. We have also expanded our outreach in terms of tech and sciences and the selection of courses that we offer. Those are positions that are going to be in demand moving forward. So I think it's about the quality of coursework we offer and what we do to match the demands of a changing workforce. Having only a high school degree confines you to maybe $15 an hour or below for your future. So by no means do we want to shoot for entry level as our highest expectation.
Thank you. We'll begin the next question with Jim. Verona spends $500,000 a year on curriculum supervisors and probably twice that on school administrators. Why do we need 2 layers of management?
In 2009, the first curriculum director was hired, and we've seen dramatic improvements in test scores. They added on additional supervisors to become subject matter experts to be able to work with the students and focus in on those particular sectors. Now, I'm not on the board currently, so I think when I get on the board, it's something that I would evaluate the value of those folks. My understanding is they're doing a great job, and we'll continue to monitor that. But to me, it's very important to make sure that if you have multi-layers, make sure we understand what each layer is doing and what value they bring.
Thank you. Michael.
Sure. I feel like I just talked a second ago. Yeah, a minute ago, I guess. Verona has one of the lowest per pupil to admin costs. That's just a fact. And that's in relation to our comparative districts. We have 2 curriculum supervisors and a director of instructional studies, and that budget that we allot to it is closer to $350,000 than $500,000. Our curriculum supervisors support the articulation of the K-12 Common Core standards, which is one another thing the state has, the state and country subject to do. But our principals make sure that they are implemented effectively across all the schools on a daily basis. So when I think about this, I think, to spend $300,000 out of a $30 million budget, it seems very wise because these individuals ensure that we do what we do the best we can, which is educate children on a daily basis.
Thank you. Glenn?
This, my friends, is not a minute answer, but I'll do what I can here. When we, back in, I think it was 2008, when we did our first 5-year plan, one of the focuses was student achievement, obviously. But we looked at some of our comp districts to see what they were doing, where they were successful. And one of the things they had that we didn't have was this, what we call layer of administration. They had the curriculum directors, they had supervisors of humanities, supervisors of math and science. And we worked over a couple of superintendents and through budget processes to get these people in. And we've seen results. We wanted to articulate a curriculum K-12, and we did that. Course mapping, we did that. In fact, we were so successful with the curriculum rewrite that other districts around the state are asking to use our documents as a roadmap for their own success. We're seeing success. Improved ASC scores, HESPA scores across grade levels, AP classes enrollment tripled, scores doubled, and we're finally outperforming our DFGs, our district faculty groups, in many areas. More work to do, but I think that the work that they've done is paying for itself.
Thank you. Next question. Jim will have this one first. How do you feel about pay to play at Verona High School?
Pay to play, interesting topic. Right now, we have spent about $500,000 currently for the coaching, staff, fees, and fields. That's a big number. And we lost some of the freshman sports. The good news is freshman basketball is coming back due to corporate sponsorship. So folks are thinking out of the box, kind of corporate sponsor to work with the freshman basketball. Pay to play, it's an option. If you think about it, we have a lot of sports clubs in Verona right now. And in essence, that's pay to play. So if it comes down to it and we want to have a sport and we have enough people that are willing to participate and there's a fee involved, then I think it's a good option.
Thank you. Michael?
Sure. Over the years in Verona as a student, I can remember running cross country, track and field, marching band, concert band, the whole jazz. And I kind of think back and I think, what if I had to pay to do that? You know, and as a student, it seems kind of a foreign concept. But this topic has come up several times over the past 5 years. Each time it's come up, we've got together with stakeholders and communities to make an informed decision. To date, it hasn't bared any fruit. The decision has not been to have a pay-for-play where you're paying a fee to do the sport, to do the co-curricular activity. Like Jim had said, it is about $500,000 out of a $30 million budget. One of the questions that has come up is, you know, what impact does it have on the budget, and then how do you sort through that? Is it more or is it less? And I guess I've had a chance to discuss it, but you know, we can continue to have this discussion as we need to do more with every dollar that we have. This could become a viable option. We just need to get together with the community again in the future when the time comes and make that decision at that point in time.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I think you first need to ask the hockey parents and lacrosse parents if we have pay-to-play, because I think they're going to give you a different answer than a lot of people, because we do have pay-to-play, and we have it in those sports. An important consideration, a very critical consideration when you talk about pay-to-play, is what is the contribution that parents of students doing activities are already paying. If you look at the Fifth Downings, if you look at the other booster clubs, there's a tremendous amount of money coming in. I think the last time we looked at that, it was north of $100,000. So if you were to implement a pay-to-play, what impact does that have? Do we lose that, and all of a sudden we have another large segment of money to make up? So every time we look at this, and we do run the numbers, it comes back that doesn't work for now. So as of right now, I'm willing to draw the line in the sand. I don't support any additional pay-to-play today, but not to say discussing with the community that won't change in the future, but I'm just not willing to risk the contribution from all the hard work that the parents are doing now.
Thank you. We'll now move to Michael for the next question. What better framework would you put in place to assure the taxpayer that our buildings and grounds will be maintained so that not as many repairs and improvements would be needed at once?
Yeah, this is a core value of our current campaign, which is preserving our schools. As your current board member, I've worked alongside Glenn here to ensure we do exactly that. We put in a sustainable framework. We've inventoried over the past 5 years our entire school district and mapped that out over the most urgent needs that are maybe 3 to 5 years off, and so on. And our referendum is currently the beginning of that process, in which we're saying, here's what we need to fix. And moving forward, we're going to be able to tell you 5, 10, 15, or 20 years down the line exactly what's going to be needed for the district and exactly the cost that it's going to incur. This is critical because it provides the community the ample time to review these costs and the opportunity to make an informed decision together.
Thank you. Glenn?
Having served on the Buildings and Grounds Committee for the last 8 or 9 years, this is a topic near and dear to my heart. I'm going to suggest that it's not the issue of a better framework. It's more of an issue currently because we have a framework in place to address the issues. But what we have now is Board of Education's years ago, going back many years, kicked the can down the road to the point where we finally take a stand in 2005 and say we're going to do this. And I see many of the gentlemen in the back of the room that were with me when we took that stand and said we've got to do this and we've got to do it now. Went from $60 million suggested down to $34 million. We delivered that project on time, under budget, and now we're getting ready to bite off another big chunk. We need to get this down to a manageable level so that down the road, in another 5 years, if we need to do capital projects, they're not of this magnitude. Maybe it's $1 million, maybe it's $1.5 million. But then we have a rolling series of bonds to try to deal with the capital issues. Because within our operating budget, we're never going to be able to take off big chunks. It's just not the way school finance works. But if we manage it effectively like that, I think we'd be successful.
Thank you. Jim?
Yeah, I look at this as sort of what I do with my house. You have to prepare for those large projects. You can't just wait for the roof to cave in and say, gee, I need to put a new roof on. You need to think ahead. So I think one of the key things is to be very proactive, prepare for large projects, maybe ladder out costs. Maybe rather than having large referendums, you could have some smaller referendums in place. Sort of ladder out like a CD at banks. You know, the CD would come due every year, and you do things like that. So there's different ways you can look at it, but the bottom line is you have to be prepared. Think of those large projects. Think of the ongoing maintenance, but then think of the big things that might hit. So maybe for every $10 you spend, you save $1, and you build that fund over time. I know it's hard to do. Costs are high to do any of this work, but you really have to think how you're going to do that down the line. And as Glenn said, kicking the can down the road, we can't do anymore. We have to make sure and take a stand if we have to prepare for what's going to come down in the future.
Thank you. I'd like to take a moment now and remind everyone that we would love to have you, the voter, submit questions. We have cards and pencils over here to the my left, your right, and if you'd like to fill those out now. We have more questions that we'll be going through, but we'd love to get to your questions as well. We'll now move on to the next question, and Michael will have this one first. Why are you running for the Verona Board of Education?
I believe if you have a dream, you should pursue it. And ever since I was a student in the Verona schools, my teachers and those who I encountered inspired me to become an elected official. My background happened to be one that I became a teacher and studied to become a school leader. Being on the Board of Education is just where those two things come together for me. I also believe that I have what it takes to help create a high-performing district. After nearly 20 years of involvement with the Verona Public Schools, I'm able to offer a unique perspective on all of those things that the state says makes an excellent school or comprises an excellent education, and consider what is needed based on the unique needs of our district here. So, that's my answer.
Thank you. Glenn?
Unfortunately, I spent some of my opening statement when I could have just waited for this. I'm really running for the Board of Education for my fourth term because I deeply committed to the idea of community service. Not only do I serve on the Board of Education here, but I also serve as Scoutmaster for the troop in town. And to be honest, at the end of the day, that's probably more rewarding than the work I do here. But I'm here this evening talking about the Board of Education. You need to get back to where you live. You need to do what you can. You need to pitch in. I feel I have the background in order to be successful, and I think my track record speaks to that. But you need to listen to people, most importantly, and I think I do. I think I have that skill, I have that ability, and I'm looking forward to hopefully serving another term.
Thank you. Jim?
As I stated before, I have a vested interest. I have 2 children in the school system, and I monitor my tax dollars. And I don't want my taxes to go up, but I understand the situation for all the residents here. I feel I can bring value to the group by providing new views, being a parent. So I'm a parent, and I also go to a lot of soccer and baseball games, football games, so I send my friends and my wife out and get information, but I have to get to the ground. So I want people to know that I want to get feedback from the community. I want to be able to listen to folks and understand what's going on out there and be able to filter that back into the Board of Ed when we make our decisions.
Thank you. Our next question, Glenn will have first. What do you believe are the Verona School District's strengths, and are there areas in our school where you'd like to see growth?
I think the 3 areas, I think I can identify 3 key areas of strength, and they're broad, but they're important. I think we have an invested and involved community. I think we have an extremely talented staff, and we also have students that truly care about being here in their education. When you put those components together, you're destined for success, and some of that success I talked about earlier. But there's always room for growth, and that's part of our 5-year plan that we just implemented. So we'll continue to strive for more student achievement, to drive up test scores, not just for test scores' sake, but in a meaningful way that really can be impactful.
Thank you. No, go ahead, you start. I'm sorry.
I had to breathe.
Okay.
Now I lost my train of thought. And also, we need to see growth just around our buildings and grounds, and we're working on that as well. Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. Jim?
Yes, for this particular item, I see four main things. Supportive and engaged community, so that's very critical, and I'm very happy that's part of this Verona. Great group of teachers and administrators that really care about the students. I mean, every one of the teachers that my kids have had, they love them, and the teachers love them back. It's an amazing thing. Continue to expand the curriculum offerings, including the college credit courses, which are great. Those courses you can do with NDIT and Syracuse University and Seton Hall and so on. And the STEM program that started in elementary school will be expanding. And the last thing is the strong tradition of the sports and of the band. Like I said, I was in the band when I grew up. I did a lot of sports too, but I love seeing the band. I know a lot of the kids love being in the band, the activities and so on. So those are some of the great things we do in Verona currently.
Thank you. Michael?
Verona creates future leaders. That's what we do across the board. One of our greatest strengths is our ability to come together and make the right choices that we need to make to do just that. Two, we truly believe as a district that all children, all students can achieve at high levels. We've, in some ways, institutionalized that into our practice, meaning we know what works. We've hired our directors of curriculum to do so, and we've worked at it for the past 5 years. And we've built an entire culture around doing just that, providing an excellent education. And of course, there's always things to work on. That's why I'm asking for a third term, because I believe that over the past 5 years, the board and myself have done a lot of the heavy lifting necessary to get to the point where we are. Everything from the $1 million reduction in state aid to the numerous new requirements around park. And a lot of these I've seen as a teacher in the classroom while I've been teaching. I've had the New Jersey Core Curriculum Content Standards, I've had to transition to the Common Core Standards as a teacher, and now as a board member.
Thank you. Jim will begin the next question. How important to you is the community's interest, knowledge, and participation in school issues? How would you go about increasing public input, if at all?
The interest is there, but I've attended a lot of Board of Ed meetings, and there's maybe 7 or 8 people, and three out of those people are reporters. So I think one of the key things is to give people a reason to come to these meetings. Maybe there's something going on where people don't want to come to those meetings, but I think it's important to get people involved and have them come to the Board of Ed meetings. Secondly, I'd like to be able to get a summary of the Friday folder. I love the information Mr. Forte sends out to us. It's like 20 documents. Summarize it, and then we can look at the other documents. So I think that would be helpful. And the other thing is how to get community involvement. I think we should create a liaison board of parents, maybe from 2 or 3 parents from all 6 schools that are involved in the committee on a rotating yearly basis, or we can work that out. But bottom line is get feedback from the parents. Get feedback. They can go to the administrators and to the board, and so they know what's going on out in the street. Because sometimes you can sit up here in the ivory tower and not really know what's going on with the constituents.
Thank you. Michael.
Community engagement is critical, and kind of a personal little anecdote. When I decided to run in 2009, I was 21 or 22, and our campaign team was sitting around our table with like friends from kindergarten, and we're thinking, what is the one-liner we're going to create that's going to really encompass our values, what we stand for. And 5 years later, we have not changed it. Education, a community initiative. It's withstood the test of time for us. Our current campaign has provided me the opportunity to talk with thousands of residents across Verona. And one thing that kind of came to light as I was thinking about this question was, we've reached out on social media, we've reached out to the mail, we've gone door to door, and we've had coffee meet and greets or pancake breakfasts. Those should not be confined to election cycles. Those should be opportunities that we have and we take throughout the year to reach out to our community and talk about current issues as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Glenn?
There's really, I identify community involvement as one of our key strengths in Verona, and I do believe there is a very, very strong community involvement. The parents that you speak to are tremendously involved in their students' lives, and also in working with the district. But of course, things can always get better, and we've worked on that as a board. I've heard the Friday folder mentioned that was newly implemented. We now put the board meetings up on YouTube, so people can access it there, because VTV is sometimes kind of tricky to use. I'm not as concerned that people aren't at the meetings, because the people I speak to, plenty of people all around Verona that have seen the meetings. So I know the meetings are getting out there. Listen, it's hard enough for us to get there some nights. And we were elected to do this, so it can be really difficult for parents to get out on every other Tuesday night to see this. But they are seeing them, and they are communicating back to us, and we're listening.
Thank you. We'll now move on to the next question, and we'll begin with Michael. What makes you best qualified to be on the Board of Education?
I've had over 20 years of involvement with the Verona Public Schools as a student, giving back through doing anything nice throughout my college years, and as a board member. My background in teaching, school leadership, finance, allows me to give a unique perspective and bring that to the board. I've had 5 years together with you to help hone my skills as a leader and as someone who is here to listen, take what you have to say, and hopefully bring out the best of what we do. That's why I do what I do, to listen, to learn, and to have the greatest impact possible.
Thank you. Glenn?
In my day job, the job that I have to do when I'm not working on my 2 part-time non-paying jobs, I manage sales and marketing for a small software company. And a key component of that is really strategic planning. I think I bring that to the table here. But really what makes me, I think, best qualified is the ability to listen to people and understand what they're saying and bringing it back and helping to form what they're telling me to make decisions. Because ultimately, we're representative of the community. This is who we're here for. I think that the Board of Education is really the best example of the democracy, representative democracy in action. So, keep giving us the feedback. And then just the fact that, I have served for 3 terms. I bring a lot of experience to this position. I've seen a lot of things over the years, some crazy things you never think you see, but you do. And I look forward to continuing to see those crazy things out in the next term.
Thank you. Jim?
What makes me best qualified? I'm a dad, I'm a parent, I'm a taxpayer, I'm a resident, and I'm a businessman. And I think you combine all those together, I'll bring a lot of value to the board. I think I talked about with my businesses, I analyze organizations. I try to find the best ways to improve those situations or organizations and try to move things forward. So what I do with the board, I would be a value asset by looking at where we are and where we can be.
Thank you. Glenn will have this next question first. What are the most urgent issues facing Verona schools today?
We've spent some time talking about some of the more obvious ones. We've talked about the budgetary issues and operating area of a 2% cap. We've talked about building new grounds. These are all critically important and really some of the biggest issues that we're facing in this district. But I'm going to touch on an issue that I haven't heard talked about much yet. And it was actually the first time I ran it was more of an issue and there was more talk about it. But the needs of our special needs students and just what's going on there. We need to make sure that we have programs that are meeting the requirements for them and just doing more than just meeting requirements, but really enabling them to thrive. And if they can't do that here, then we need to find the proper placements for them outside the district. And talking to those parents, I hear it all the time how important that is. So we need to make sure that we're focused on that as well.
Thank you. And Tim?
We talked about some of these items already, but again, I'll go back to technology. We hired our first full IT person in June of 2012, and it took us that long to realize that we need an IT person to direct us where we need to be. But there's so many things we can do. We can look at options. Rather than smart boards, maybe go to boards, be more cost effective. Maybe get Chromebooks rather than buying computers that we can do certain tests on. When we had the big outage Sandy hit, right? We had no email. Email went down. Well, I talked to the superintendent of another school district, and they're looking at Gmail as an option. So this way, if there is a disaster, Gmail is available. We just had an issue with our email servers went down. We had to then spend money for that. If we had Gmail or some kind of free email system, then we wouldn't have to be spending that kind of money. I also look at security. Building safety is very urgent. I know that's a thing that we need to do, but I know that's going to be in the referendum, but that's very important. And then fiscal responsibility. We need to make sure that if we do this referendum and we bring in these people, we need to make sure that we are spending every dollar wisely and not just throwing it away or getting these people in that we're not comfortable with. We need to make sure we're spending the dollars wisely.
Thank you. Michael?
Yeah, I have to agree with Jim. Google applications, Google Docs, or Google Drive, whatever they call it nowadays. It's changed 5 times, but it's something that I campaigned on wholeheartedly my first term in 2009. And I had an opportunity to meet with some Google representatives while in Washington to discuss the opportunity to bring it here in Verona, and currently had some discussions with the superintendent to see if that's a viable option. But one of our greatest challenges is also our strength, which is to make the right choices, but the greatest challenge is to make those tough choices, right? Because the right choices aren't always the easy choices. Moving forward, we're going to have to overcome 2 obstacles: aging infrastructure and ongoing financial challenges. And it's not happenstance that those are the 2 challenges, right? Because in order to fix the buildings, you need money to do it. ironically, but yeah, so we just need to make sure that moving forward, that we keep those two areas of strength on the forefront of our minds. That way we're addressing them.
Thank you. The next and final question that was submitted by the committee will go to Jim first. What strategy would you employ for maintaining programs and staff amid shrinking state education aid to suburban districts?
Well, state aid, it's fluctuated. It went from about $1.4 million down to $7,000, and now it's up to $844,000 this year, which is 3% of the budget. The federal aid is close to $500,000, which brings a total of 5% funded from the government, and the rest comes from the taxpayers. So the government's not going to be helping us out too much. So we need to be self-sufficient. So we must work in a manner to be self-sufficient and be relying on ourselves when it comes to being fiscally responsible. So again, this referendum coming up, you have to look at the referendum and say, am I going to return on my investment? Is this going to help the community as a whole? I think the key is, when it comes to our community, that the school system is a vital component of that. And being a vital component of that, if people want to move into your town, their property values go up. So I think it's very important to make sure that we are moving forward and being fiscally responsible when it comes to how to move forward.
Thank you. Michael?
When I was elected, my first year was the year that we were reduced from $1.4 million to $70,000, and I thought, I'm 22, we just lost $1 million in the budget, what the heck? Just like I thought I'm 22, I'm in front of a classroom of 35 children, wow. Kind of the same thought process, but I've had to answer those questions over the past 5 years, and I believe I've done well in doing so, as we've been able to maintain the majority of our academic and co-curricular programs over the past 5 years. Now, we do have a system in place in Verona to address that. Otherwise, we wouldn't have band, right? We wouldn't have our sports program if we did what other districts did, which was make across-the-board cuts. We start with a zero-based budget planning process in which we do a needs assessment every year across the district. That ensures that we have no baked-in costs year to year. We meet with teachers, administrators, the Board of Ed, and the community to evaluate all expenses that will be put into that year's budget. Now, we don't vote on the budget moving forward because we've changed that with the 2% cap, but we still seek the investment and intake of our community to do so.
Thank you. Glenn?
This is really one of the biggest challenges that this Board of Education or any Board of Education is going to face. There is not going to be any more money coming from either the state and certainly not the federal government to assist us. The way our DFG as our district active group, we're not going to get more than the 3 to 5% in funding that we currently receive. So we do need to be self-sufficient. And one of the things that we do is that we continue to look for shared services with the township, and we've made some great progress in that area over the last few years, and there's more to be had. Is it possible to outsource certain maintenance functions? But we need to continue to look at our budgeting strategy and sorry, it's distracting. We need to continue to look at how we budget and what our expenditures are going to. Because to be perfectly honest, even though we operate within our 5-year plan, maintaining programs isn't a challenge. But sometimes, how are we going to, what a staffing level is going to look like down the road, what a class size is going to look like. And I talked about the era of the 2% cap, and that would be one area I'd like to see removed. And I think that's something that could certainly help us.
Thank you. We're now moving on to the third part of this evening's forum, and that's questions from you, the voter. Michael's going to start with the first one, and help me if I don't quite understand these correctly. So, Michael, with the untested implementation of Common Core, what are your thoughts on it?
So there was a report done by the OECD, which is the same organization that assesses achievement across several countries. And one of their lessons, they wrote a report which was titled Lessons to the United States. One of their lessons in that report, it's like really lengthy, but was to set up a system of common standards across the country. And we are a country that did not have that. So for me, it is moving in the right direction to set high standards across all states for all children to achieve. And there was a second part of that, untested. I would kind of push against that a little bit and say that I don't think it's been untested. I know there are countries out there who do have common standards, common core standards that are high. and they outperform us. It's just a fact. So I think that we are moving in the right direction with adopting those. And we do allow each state to adopt a certain percentage of their own standards as well. So states do have some autonomy over what we want to put in front of our children in terms of learning standards.
Thank you. Glenn?
Hi, yeah, the Common Core initiative really came into being about 10 years ago when a group of governors really get together and decided that this would be a good idea to try to close the achievement gap. What's important to note, though, is that New Jersey, for longer than that, for a long time, has already had a Common Core, so to speak, initiative in place. We were never really free for maybe 10, 15 years to develop curriculum on our own. We always had to adhere to a common standard. And also, that's been tested as well. We have our standardized tests, we have our HASPA, we have our asks. So these are really what's in place. And when we brought in the curriculum team, they really got us a jump ahead on the whole Common Core initiative, and our curriculum is really in line with what we need to do. We're just about done doing that. And as far as testing, our students can be prepared for that. I don't think it's going to be much of an issue, to be perfectly honest, given the fact that we've been supporting this concept for more than a generation of students.
Thank you. Jim?
Yeah, the Common Core, it definitely brings value. I mean, right now it's only math and language arts. Maybe in the future we'll move to science and social studies. The biggest concern I have with the Common Core is that a lot of it's being marked or benchmarked by tests. And the key is you don't want to have teachers teaching toward a test. And you have teachers that have been teaching for years, and they're creative, and they do amazing things. And now they have to try to fit into the box. And hopefully, you know, I know teachers do a great job here, and they're able to still have their creativity and still stay in the parameters of the Common Core. But I think that's something that we need to monitor during the years and make sure that the teachers are comfortable, that they can still be the teachers they want to be, yet we have to abide by those tests to make sure we get the scores. So it's a tough tightrope to walk, but hopefully we'll continue to do it correctly.
Thank you. Next question, Glenn gets this one first. I love this. There was a rumor.
This one, Glenn.
There was a rumor this summer that the district was going to eliminate 2 of the 4 elementary school principals and have the remaining 2 cover 2 schools. Is this a cost-cutting idea you would support? Why or why not?
You know, we evaluate a lot of different scenarios as a board to try to find the right mix for the township as well as for our students and the administrative team. So we did discuss that. At the time, currently, it doesn't seem to make sense to what we're trying to accomplish, so we didn't move forward with it. But it certainly, we have to, when we face the issues, the budgetary issues that we have, we can't eliminate any ideas just offhandedly.
Thank you. Jim?
I'm not on the board currently, so I wasn't involved in those discussions. I mean, anything you can talk about cutting costs is important. But again, I really can't answer this question because I wasn't involved in those discussions. You know, I think if we have school, you need administrators there. So it's something that I'd have to analyze when you let me into it.
Michael?
Yes, I do remember having those discussions, and those are some of those really challenging scenarios and situations that you face as a board member. The greatest priority is putting funds towards the classroom. We are so fortunate in Verona to have a layer of administration that allows us to direct our curriculum. We have a layer that, and that's like 12 months out of the year. We have a layer that allows us to focus on everyday learning in the classroom, so building principals and vice principals. And then we have our teachers, who are our leaders in our classroom every single day with our children. If we ever got in a situation where that was the case, we had 2 elementary school principals for 4 schools, I believe that we have the right people in the right places to ensure that we will be successful moving forward. So, not quite a rumor, because we definitely had a chance to talk about it, but I appreciate the question. And I encourage, like, if anyone ever has a question, to just call us or come to a board meeting or, you know, reach out.
Thank you. The next question, we'll start with Jim on that. What makes the voters want to believe you are going to do something different that has not already been done during your time, different by the board? We'll try to vary it.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, good idea. What makes the voters want to believe you are going to do something different than has already been done by the board?
I think the people that know me know that I'm a man of integrity. They know that I'm a straight shooter. They know that when Jim Day says something, he's going to get it done. There's a lot of things going on in the school system. I look at it as a moving car, and you have to jump on the car and you try to fix things. I mean, there's no downtime. I mean, you have the summertime, things slow down, but you're still preparing for the next year. So I think I would definitely be involved in getting things set up in the right direction.
Thank you, and I think I'll modify this a little bit and move on to Michael. What makes the voters want to believe you're going to do something different that you have not already done during your time on the board?
So during our first campaign, 2009, we released a series of videos on YouTube. This is nosing to you, Josh, but we just, Vernon Cedar Grove Times and other newspapers have done that for this current cycle. So I think over the years, we have tried to go ahead and be ahead of the curve, so to say. Our campaign recently has engaged in outreach in social media, through mailers, we personally signed a letter to every single home. So I think just the way you've seen my campaign run over the past 5 years, you can see that we've tried different things. Additionally, we sent 25 vote Unis pumpkins to businesses around town today. We saw them on Facebook. To say thank you, just thank you for hosting our flyers, and thank you for being a part of our campaign, and to bring a little bit of joy into this crazy election cycle with the governor's race and the senator's race and just everything going on. Everyone's having a hard time, so we had some fun with it. So once again, I think you've seen me for 5 years. I've been a teacher in the classroom. I've been on the ground. I've had to teach the Common Core standards, and I think you know what you get when you vote for me on November 5th, hopefully.
Thank you, Michael. Glenn?
Repeat the question again.
Sure. What makes the voters want to believe you are going to do something different that you have not already done during your time on the board?
Well, I think I said this in my opening statement. I fundamentally think we're on the right track. I think we're headed in the right direction. I think we're making strong progress in the areas where we identified need. So I'm not going to say that there's going to be anything different. I think what we're doing is correct.
Thank you. And I think the next question I can answer. Are you all taxpayers in Verona? And that would be a requirement for running for office would be, but I like having questions. Okay. Next we'll move on to...
Can I address that question?
You can address that
Great.
question.
So one of the comments that I got when I first ran was that I lived in my parents' basement, and that's not true. I'm on the third floor of the way. But anyway, I do want to address it because I am a taxpayer of Verona, and I know that's pretty, I'm just going to own that question right up front because it's been a question that I've seen posted about it, online, and it's been brought to my attention. I live in a family of four brothers. Wow. 4 brothers, my mom, my dad, my wife, my dog, the cat, and a turtle that I've had for 12 years that is this big. A 100-gallon tank. Thank you, Mom, for letting me have a tank in the house. But I gotta be honest. I love what we do here, and we pool our funds and we make it work in our household. We make it work. It is difficult every single day. It is not easy, but we divide up the costs and we make it work. And I think everyone is doing the same thing that is sitting here today. So thank you for that question.
Okay, would anyone else like to address the question?
My tax bill, I'm all
Okay. Okay, I think we're on to Michael. Michael, did you get the next one first? Okay, I think that's where we're at in our rotation. Okay. The 2005 referendum amounted to approximately 1.25 times the operating budget at the time. The proposed referendum represents more than half the current operating budget. When do you see the next referendum occurring, and is there a way to envision us avoiding it?
I believe that we're going to have to look at the referendums over the long term, and that it will be unreasonable to think that we won't be able to ever give another referendum again. What we can do, though, is try to shrink the amount that we ask over time. And how do we do this? We make sure that what we use for operations in our school go to the daily operations. Meaning that if we need to buy something for the classroom, we do it out of our operations budget. If we need to fix something in our infrastructure, we don't do that out of the operations budget. That we bond for funds that would be spent over 5 years for the 5-year projects. Buying something with a 5-year bond and paying interest on it when you're only going to use it for a year doesn't really make sense. Looking forward, hopefully, we ask for $30 million now. By the time that debt is retired and those interest payments are done, we're asking for less money, which would actually reduce the amount that we need to pay for those referendums over time. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that we're going to lower taxes because I can't answer that right now. But hopefully we can reduce the cost on taxpayers as we reduce the amount that we're asking for each referendum.
Thank you. Glenn?
As a self-identified taxpayer previously, I truly wish I had a different story to tell. But, you know, the last time we went and did a referendum, we identified over $60 million in needs. We were able to get that down to 34 million. I think we bonded for 34, and we came in under budget, so we gave back to the taxpayers what was left. We've identified more needs. The $30 million of needs that we didn't do at the time didn't go away. And so now we're looking at between 17 and 19 million, another huge sum of money. And it probably still won't tackle everything that we would do in a perfect world with unlimited funds. But once we get these larger chunks done, what we can then do is start to plan strategically and look at 5-year increments, 10-year increments, whatever makes sense to pay for some of these other projects that we need to do, so that we're replacing them and not an emergency. So if we have to replace boilers, which are not on the list this time, we can do that in a meaningful way. And so that's how we really plan for the future, and instead of just crossing our fingers and hoping for the best.
Thank you. Jim?
As you know, we have a current referendum that might be coming up in March. That includes technology, security, and buildings. Those are 3 vital components that we need in our schools. The safety for our children, making sure they go to a safe environment, and technology, of course, we talked about that before. We talk about additional referendums. As I said before, I think we need to do smaller referendums, plan for projects that are coming up, ladder it out so maybe the bonds come due at different times, every couple of years they'll come due, as opposed to one big nut that we try to get and then try to pay that off for X number of years. So I think we have to be smart on how we think about referendums moving forward.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions from the voters? If not, we have covered a lot of issues here this evening. That brings us to the 4th and final part of this evening's forum. Yes, the candidates have been working very hard up here, which will be a 2-minute closing statement. Did someone want to bring one up? No. No more questions?
No, thank you.
Okay. We'll begin our 2-minute closing statement in reverse order from the way we had our opening statement, so we'll begin with Jim.
Like you made. Well, to summarize, I moved to Verona 10 years ago with my family, and one of the key reasons why we moved to Verona was the excellent reputation of the school system. During my run for this campaign for the Board of Ed seat, I had a lot of people call me up, want to have conversations, wanted to have discussions about the school system, and they're concerned about the direction of the school system. And that really gave me, made me excited that I want to be able to come in and help. I wanted to state that if I'm elected, I'm going to ask those hard questions. Why are we doing this way, and are there better ways to do it? To me, it's critical to know what the board is doing, and they're working hard, I know they are, but you want to make sure that they're doing the right decisions and open to discuss why they made those decisions. We have some great teachers and administrators in the school system. We want to keep that. We have a strong school system that's vital to Verona. So strong schools mean a strong Verona, means higher property values for all residents, not just people with children, but for all residents. I have a story to tell. And the story, I love the story, but hopefully you love the story too. I was walking my daughter to school last week. I was walking back, and the little boy pulls me over, Mr. Day. I said, yes, Daniel. He goes, if you win the election, can you do something for me? I said, what is that, Dan? He goes, can you bring back dodgeball? And I was like, I'll work on that, Dan. But the bottom line is, not wrap it all up for me. This is all about the children. I mean, it's about the residents, it's about the children. But you think about it, is it fields, is it curriculum, is it buildings? It's all about our community, it's all about our children. So regardless if you want all these different things, think about the main reasons why we're here and why I want to be on the Board of Ed. So to move forward, I will fight to have a strong and sustainable education system in the town so all residents win. So I ask for your support on November 5th. And remember, there is a new day in education in Verona.
Thank you. Michael?
As an elected leader, I serve as a listener, a strategic planner, and a collaborator within our community. I seek re-election to a third term with the Verona Board of Education because I believe that together we must create a transformational learning experience for all children. It's about the students. Our job is to help set them on a new pathway in life. As many of you may have heard me say before, we have all been in the shoes of our students, and someday they will walk in ours. And it is with a great sense of responsibility that we must act to address the urgent issues before us. An excellent school district is founded on 3 elements: effective teachers, inspirational leadership, and an engaged community. And I look forward to bringing out these 3 elements over the next 3 years, once again, to bring out the best in Verona. Once again, I would like to thank the Conference of SCAs and the League of Women Voters, and everyone for coming out tonight. It's been an honor the past 5 years, and I ask for your vote on November 5th. Thank you.
Thank you. Glenn?
I get cut off in my opening statement, so I'm going to make this one short and sweet. I'd like to thank the citizens of Verona. I'd like to thank my neighbors. I'd like to thank my friends. I'd like to thank all the people I've spoken to over the last 9 years that really helped to form my term in office. I couldn't have done it without you guys, and I hope to do it again. I'd like to thank my fellow board members that are here and those that are not. I'd like to thank Mr. Day for being here as well. Both these gentlemen are fine men and would make outstanding board members. So thank you for everyone for stepping up. Thank you to our moderators. Thanks to the SEAs. I'm just asking for your support next week. Part of being an incumbent, it's good and it's bad, right? I have a record to stand on, and I have a record to stand on. So I hope my record speaks volumes. I'm proud of the work we've done here, and I'm looking to continue that work over the next term. And I'd like to look for your support. Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes our forum for this evening. I would like to thank the SCA for organizing it. I would like to thank you, the voter, for coming out this evening. And I would like to thank the candidates who worked very hard this evening. And be sure to vote on November 5th.